shout. Let's do it, never do it. Please don't run about in my house. Please don't talk about it. Do it meal. Please don't tell a lie. Please don't make a lie. Please don't, never do it.
One thing I always look forward to in a video game is the final boss. Final bosses are used as ways to conclude the game and put your skills to the big test. And they range from epic moments to complete jokes. Range from ones that'll make you say, "Wow, that was an amazing conclusion," to, "Wow, that was horrible." Everyone has some final bosses that they file under each of these categories, and I will list which final bosses I think are epic, and which 5 I completely made the climax disappointing. As usual, only games I played and only one per franchise. Also, this is my personal thoughts, so if you don't see the time meter on here, which you won't, simply take it as my own opinions. This video is not made to change yours. Anyways, it's time!
Your body submits, your heart succumbs. So why does your mind resist?
I don't get why some people don't know about Pokemon Ranger Guardian Signs. It's a great game. It has very unique gameplay, great environments, and a great story, and it's just fun to play. On top of that, the gameplay was implemented very well into the boss fights. Wish I could say the same thing about the final boss, Purpleize's Mewtwo. Reason number 1 of why I hate this boss is because you fight it after you have another showdown with it, so chances are you won't have a lot of good stuff equipped for it. The battle before felt fair and challenged you on its own, and it would have been a good final boss. This just feels like it was shoehorned just to see the golden armor in one place. This feels extremely forced and completely unnecessary, and it is just plain cheap. Mewtwo is constantly launching attacks and has aura surrounding it, where if you touch it, you'll take some chip damage. As a result, you'll be losing a lot of health and assistance fast. Mewtwo's attacks are not only harsh, but they have the ability to cloak the entire screen. So, needless to say, defeating him can be quite tedious. All of these make for one incredibly cheap and one incredibly disappointing final battle. Seriously, developers, you should have made the first Mewtwo battle the final boss. Now we're talking! Grima was honestly an excellent way to conclude a game as amazing as Fire Emblem Awakening. First off, look at the atmosphere. Look at it! The battle plays out in a simple fashion. Just get to Grima and start beating him up, and you win. In retaliation, however, Grima can summon his own minions to weaken you, and has its own attack expiration that can deal damage ranging from not a whole lot to most of your health. So you need to keep an eye on how much health you have, because if you get too reckless, Grima and his minions can easily screw you over. You need to bring your knowledge and power to the field if you wish to defeat this boss. But when you lay smackdowns on Grima, it feels good, and when you defeat him, all that's felt is total satisfaction. Overall, Grima is both an emotional and challenging boss at the exact same time. And that music! just amazing. Alright, Joker, I've got you on the lines. What do you have to say now?
Oh, you're ruining my big night! Months of planning down the crapper. I just wanted to bring down your grim facade and for once let you see the world as I see it, giggling in a corner and bleeding. But you've denied me even that. I have nothing to live for. So,
Really? You had to shoot yourself? Wait, hold on. Where are you going with this? What the? Okay, seriously, Rocksteady Studios? That's seriously your idea of a final boss? A fair Batman and Joker fistfight would have been fine. This is just madness! All Joker does is swipe at you, which can easily be avoided by running away from him. After that, he has his minions do the fighting for him! The minions are pathetically easy because you've been fighting them this whole game, and when they're down, Joker smiles and news copters, leaving himself wide open for you to backclaw him and punch him. And guess what you do for the rest of the fight? Rinse and repeat what you did. On top of that, Joker goes down in just 3 hits. 3 hits! Is he really that weak? Still on this, if you happen to take damage by the minions after you punch Joker, you will be healed completely. Really? As if the fight wasn't even enough. This is by far one of the easiest boss battles I've ever faced. And to think that a cool game was scrapped on by this terrible boss.
I've been so looking forward to your arrival, Kitty Cat.
Hades! Hades!
It's on!
If you follow my videos, you would know that my favorite video game villain is Hades from Kid Icarus Uprising. So you probably guessed that the battle with him would end up on this list. And why not? It has all the factors that make a good final boss. He goes ham with his attacks and tests your skills in 6 phases. 6 freaking phases! What? How many phases? Shut up! Anyways, in phase 1, Hades lets out bullets and a huge twister before imitating Leroy Jenkins and running after you. When he stops, you've beaten phase 1. In phase 2, you switch the Great Sacred Treasure into Berserk mode, where it becomes a motorcycle goose chase, shooting down little guns on Hades and then a core. After phase 2, Hades launches plasma shots at you, and the Great Sacred Treasure reveals Form 3, Mech Armor mode.
This thing is so awesome!
Correct, Fit. And begins phase 3, where Hades pulls out his Rainbow Apocalypse.
I prefer to think of it as my devastation ensemble.
Whatever. Hades tries to shoot orbs, give you the hand, and... Wait, where'd that drill come from? Pit then slices Hades in half, and both go above ground, where phase 4 begins. Hades launches different colored orbs and screens, so you need to figure out which orbs to shoot and which ones to not. After phase 4, Hades crushes the Great Sacred Treasure, and phase 5 has you guide a force to him. After phase 5, the Force, or should I say, Medusa, blows Hades' head off, which makes Hades spawn a fire head and Shoryuken Medusa. The Pit then grabs a cannon and the last phase begins. The last phase is an endurance contest. It only lasts about 30 seconds, but you need to stay alive by avoiding the lasers. And when phase 6 is done, a hyper beam is launched, ending the fight. This is a long battle, but the sheer fun and satisfaction you get from it guaranteed it a spot on this list. Oh God, not this fight, not this fight! Yes, people, my least favorite boss in the Sonic franchise is Metal Robotnik from Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1. Why, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you why. Then first off, it's a lazy rehash of the final fight from Sonic the Hedgehog 2. In fact, the first part is almost the exact same as it was before. The only difference is that his arms sometimes spike up, and you have a homing attack and rings. But the absolute bullcrap part is when he loses some of his health. After he loses some of his health, he goes absolutely ape with his movements, which will most likely cause you to take damage and unable to get your rings back. As the fight goes on, he'll add in plasma shots and lasers, creating a mess of things that you can't get away from. In order to beat him, you have to use a tedious strategy. Wait for him to launch his arm, homing attack him when he comes down, and wail away at him. You can only get a maximum of 4 hits before he comes back to attack, and due to him having an insane amount of health, this fight will last forever. And when he's on his last hit, he will attempt to crush the ground in the large arena that you have to fight him in and take you down easily. And due to the location being random, you better pray he doesn't near you, or you will die. And what happens then? You have to fight this boss all over again, cause it was so much fun the first time. This boss is incredibly cheap due to the ability of you flying everywhere, and the battle itself is incredibly boring. When I finally beat him, there was no celebration, no treats, just a sigh of relief that it was finally over. Screw this boss. Speaking of Sonic the Hedgehog, Solaris, a godly deity that has the ability to rule over the sun and time. The first reason why this boss is awesome is that you get to use Super Sonic, Super Shadow, and Super Silver at the exact same time, and you can switch over to any of them at any time. Second, this fight plays out amazingly. All you need to do is fly around while using your charge attacks in order to damage Solaris. In retaliation, Solaris will shoot lasers and dark meteors at you, as well as block your attacks if you did not charge up your attacks. You need to use a specific character to break off pieces of Solaris' armor, and before you can use anyone you want. Use the switch whenever you need it, whenever your Super Hedgehog runs low on rings, because if you lose all your rings, well, you die. After all that, Solaris is officially defeated. Not! In Solaris' second form, it becomes much more aggressive, launching a crap ton of meteors, to Master's lasers, to Dark Balls, to Jeez Louise! You think it's enough lasers? All the while, all the characters spout out awesome one-liners that really motivate you to win.
You can do it, Shadow! Shadow, I'm prompting you to do this! The present day, the here and now that you've stolen, time to take it back!
Overall, this is an excellent boss to close out Sonic 06. It's fun, it's pretty challenging, and it's just downright memorable. Also, I cannot get enough of this music. In Metroid Other M, I found MB to be quite interesting, being an AI that eventually felt abandoned and going rogue. That's actually quite depressing. So eventually, you can make MB realize that she was never abandoned for the final boss fight. And it sucks. All MB does is just stand in one spot and have these giant side bugs to attack you. This is a surge segment, meaning that you can't move all in this fight, meaning that you have a target wide open on yourself. And with that target, the bugs will ambush you and punish you. So all this time, you're avoiding punishment before the bugs eventually make minced meat out of you. So you rage quit and look at a Let's Play to see how you beat MB, which is to have your reticule on her and the fight will automatically end. Let me ask you two things. 1. How the heck were gamers supposed to figure that out? 2. What kind of an idea of a final battle is that? And to add insult to the climax, instead of MB realizing her mistake, she just gets shot. And it wasn't even you who did it. You know, for the artificial intelligence of Mother Brain, I was expecting more of a fight than an aim fest.
Armstrong! Duh! I said my sword was a tool of justice. Not used in anger. Not used for vengeance. But now I'm not so sure. And besides, this isn't my sword. Come on. Okay. Let's dance.
Now, some of you are probably wondering why I put Senator Armstrong from Metal Gear Rising Revengeance and not Liquid Ocelot. Simple. I never played Metal Gear Solid 4. Now to Armstrong. This battle is phenomenal. Armstrong has a huge arsenal of attacks, from simple punches to kicks, to dashing at you, to doing a fire punch that will make you lose your sword if you're hit, summoning flame geysers, make a fire quake, making an explosion, healing himself, and even taking pieces of Excelsis to throw at you. Many of his attacks require quick reactions, and test your reactions to quick time events and your blade mode. Speaking of which, this action is eye candy. I mean, look at this. Look at this! You can't rest with this final boss. There's always something going on that just makes this fight awe-inspiring. And eventually, you get to slash up his arms and finish him by blade moding him and ripping his heart out! Ripping his heart out! Overkill much? Still, this is an amazing final battle. Ironically, this fight has a deep meaning to it. Ryan and Armstrong are shown that they want to achieve their goals without fighting each other. But their goals oppose each other, so the battle had to be this way. It's not any of the dialogue in this fight that explains this. It's the music. Literally titled, It Has to Be This Way. Everything about this final boss works. The gameplay, the use of your skills, the challenge, the symbolism, and the satisfaction make this a true final boss. So what is the greatest final boss I've ever faced? Well, let's see. But first, let's see the worst final boss I've ever faced. Purple Isis Mewtwo had no build-up. Titan Joker provided no challenge whatsoever. Metal Robotnik was unsatisfying. MB played horribly. Number 1 has all these traits. A boss that was so forced, so easy, so unsatisfying, that it's my least favorite boss in gaming as a whole. And that boss is King Wart from Super Mario Bros. 2! Now, hear me out. I liked the game. I just thought it did its job as an old school platformer well. With that out of the way, this has to be the worst video game boss I've ever faced in my entire life. Now Mario tries to have a nature that appeals to kids, but they've always had a dark final boss. So to see a frog in the final boss's position just ruined everything about the climax for me. You want an all-powerful creature? Nope. How about a derpish crown frog? First off, the way you beat Wart is by far one of the dumbest you'll ever hear. You defeat him by feeding him veggies. Yep, veggies, which come immediately spew out of this machine in the middle of the room, which ironically belongs to Wart. Let me repeat that. The enemy's machine gives you what you need to win. You know what else makes this boss easy? He only has one attack. Just one. All he does is spew out bubbles that are predictable and easy to avoid. You know what else makes this boss easier? If you, for some stupid reason, get hit, you can go back a little bit and get hearts to restore your health. But that's not all. How about we make this boss die in 5 hits? Yeah, 5. Even though this boss can only take a little bit over a minute to beat, it feels like it's 20 times that. This boss is just that boring. And guess what? The music's boring and repetitive. This is my example of how not to do a final boss. It has no build-up, wasted opportunities, silly ideas, repetitive music, pathetic difficulty, and it's so boring and unsatisfying! All those cement Wart at number 1. Now, for the best final boss. Grima was an emotional final battle. Hades had lots of content to him. Solaris motivated you to win. Senator Armstrong played beautifully. Number 1 combines all of these traits to not only create my final battle, but also my favorite boss battle in gaming history. This boss is the final boss of Pokemon Black and White 2. Iris. Where do I begin with this fight? This is just the greatest boss fight I've ever seen, with a wonderful champion. And that's the first blow with this boss. Iris is a great character. Why? Well, first off, Iris is a girl who has taken an admiration to dragon types, and she has become a student to Drayden, learning how to be a great trainer. She eventually traveled around leading up to the events of Black and White 1 and 2, where she appears to help you throughout a few points of the game, and being an assistant gym leader in the first Black and White. Iris then full-on training with Drayden, which eventually led her to defeating Alder, the original champion of Unova. Alder then retired, and then Iris takes his place as the champion, and she's your last obstacle. Now for a fight. It's perfect! Being a dragon trainer, Iris' team is half dragon type with some other types of Pokemon thrown in, just to keep the battle from being easy. Iris has Pokemon consisting of a Hydreigon, a Druddigon, an Aggron, an Archeops, a Lapras, and a Haxorus. And she is going to be what you think a team like that would be. A big challenge. But unlike some bosses I faced, this boss is the fair type of difficult, just the way I like it. Each one of our Pokemon is different from the last, and all require different strategies and different types of Pokemon to defeat. The atmosphere of this fight is just beautiful. I honestly get myself thinking that this is a battle in space. Oh, and the music's amazing. Whenever I hear the phrase best boss ever, this is what I think. Everything about this battle is perfect. The build-up is great, the character is lovable, the atmosphere is huge and colorful, the music is unbelievably epic, the fight plays incredibly, and it was just satisfying to come out on top. I'm the Lightning Ripper, and I want to see Iris come back in a future generation of Pokemon. Now if you'll excuse me, I have some other final bosses to face.
was frozen today.